In this tutorial, we're going to begin set dressing our level. Alright, so up to this point we have created our building using BSP objects, and we've basically constructed this in such a way, and we've added static meshes on top of our building. We've added windows and things like that, and we've even got into materials and we've applied those to our entire building. We've come quite a ways to this, and we've learned quite a few techniques for just the basics of working in UDK. Now, moving into set dressing, there are a few concepts that we need to pay attention to. First and foremost, whenever set dressing, you're adding in props that add to the story and add to the level in such a way. And we'll start out with larger details, and then we'll start working into some of the smaller details. So, getting started here, I know that with this, I was kind of thinking of like a gas station or some sort of fuel depot of some sort. We might even have objects that are shipped to this depot or something like that, and it's kind of run down. So what I wanted to do is I want to get into some of those props. So let's go to static meshes, turn off materials, and I'm going to scroll down, and we're going to go into that HU section here. So I'm going to actually just type that in, and that might make it a little bit easier for me to find some of my props. So we have things like pipes that we can use. We can start to lay that out if we want to, but those are kind of some smaller details. And remember that we want to start out with larger details first. So things like this machinery, maybe there's a piece of machinery in the actual building itself. So you can see here that that's pretty large. We might actually want to put this on top of the building or something like that. Okay, just to kind of give it a little bit of depth, because the top of this building is very flat, and that can become very boring. So we just kind of want to break up that silhouette of this building with something like this. So we could do a couple of these sideways, okay, like so, but it doesn't look like they'll fit on the top of the roof there. Now we could resize it if we want to. Now when it comes to resizing objects in the scene here, we could usually get away with just using our scale tool and dropping that down however we see fit, okay, and then just grabbing the move tool and positioning that. Now whenever we want to stick to those units, those safe units that we talked about, that's with modular objects. Okay, so if we're going to be snapping them together, like some of these rails or the walls and things like that, then we want to make sure that we're using those safe units. Once we get to this point, we really don't have to worry about that too much. Okay, so I've got this mesh. I'm going to go ahead and turn it sideways on top here, and we'll move it into position. Let's make sure that that's right on the floor there. And then I'm going to create two of those, so one on each end, so Alt, and then drag that over, and we'll just kind of position that. We're not worried too much about the grid at this point. It's a good idea to kind of stay on it as much as possible, but we have our snapping turned on, so we're pretty good, I'm sure. Alright, so now that I have that, let's add something else into our scene. I like these storage tanks, so we can add lots of these. We can add some on top of our building. We could add some small ones, or we could even get kind of crazy with it and add some larger ones into this. So we might have two of those just kind of stacked on top here. Okay, just to kind of show that these generators or whatever they are, that maybe this is the fuel that is used here. I'm going to rotate that to where we can see that caution sign. Okay, and kind of that gunk that's on the front there. And we'll do kind of the same thing here, but the other direction. We'll see these tanks at a different angle. Okay, we don't want to, throw in symmetry and things like that too much whenever it comes to level design. Okay, so we're getting some storage tanks. We might even decrease the size of this one just to kind of have a little bit of variance. Okay, you could do that. I don't think that's going to work out all that great though, so I'm going to go ahead and just pull this one back some, push it toward our object a little bit more, just kind of show that those are together. Okay, so we can do something kind of like that. We can come in here and we can start to get into something even more to where we can have like these storage tanks that are put together. Okay, that might even work better up here, I think. That looks a little bit more put together and functional rather than those tanks just kind of sitting up there. So we'll go ahead and we'll rotate this around, and I'm going to go ahead and scale that up and close our surface our mesh properties. I didn't actually want those. So kind of create something like that. Adds a little bit of depth to our area here. Now, one thing that I do want to do really quickly is I remember that railing that I used, and I think that railing would look pretty good up here on top. And rotate that, just kind of line that on the front of our building. So just kind of create some of these, hold down Alt, and just kind of space those out a little bit. Okay. There we go. So we've got kind of these rails, and we can put those on either side. So this is all part of the process, just kind of finding some meshes and things like that. And this is the really fun part, is just kind of decorating the level. In my personal opinion, I really like this portion here. So you can have all kinds of possibilities. I mean, it's basically limitless. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to kind of think of some other things that we can put on top of this building. I like the top of it. I like how it's broken up now. The tops up here are looking a little bare, so let's find something that we could use on top of that building. I don't want to use a statue or anything like that. I don't want to get absolutely crazy with stuff like that. So I'm going to look in. Let's take a look at some of these other meshes here. We can use like this wheel for a vent or something like that. That's not going to go on top of our building though, but we have that generator. Kind of have this gas tank here. I can go ahead and put that on top over here. So that's kind of looks a little big for our building. Okay, for this portion anyway. So I'm just going to make that a little bit smaller. I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees, and I'll pull that forward a little bit just so we can kind of see that a little bit easier. Okay. A couple of other things that we could do. We could start to put in things like pipes and that sort of thing. So if I really wanted to, I could go ahead and spin this around the other direction. And let's go ahead and let's keep it the way it was. Let's put a pipe in on this end right here. So I'm going to look at this really quickly. I'm trying to look at the end here. I'm going to go ahead and add in something like this pipe. Just drag that right onto our object here. And we'll spin that around 90 degrees. Just a little bit more there. And I'm going to spin this. And let's go ahead and go 180 degrees. We could scale it down, and then we'll move that in, just kind of intersect with our gas tank, and then I can create another object just like it. Okay, and then I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. Kind of pop that into place. Now it looks like it's not going to fit quite right. Now I went ahead and I deviated from the safe values that we should use with this, but let's see if we can't just kind of get it to fit on there. It doesn't have to fit perfectly. Okay, so that's pretty close. And then we'll go ahead and we'll take the size up here, or we'll rotate that around to 180. And then I'm going to use like kind of like a straight pipe or something like that. So go ahead and I'll drag this in. and I'm wanting to rotate this 90 degrees. And I'll just move this into position. With my new pipe. And I'm going to scale this down. And move that back into place. So something kind of like this. Now you'll see that we have a pipe kind of sticking through our window right here. So that's going to be kind of hard to fix there. So let's take this pipe and let's pull that up here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this over, and I'm going to make this go up into this generator. Okay, something kind of like that. I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees. And then pull that up right in there. Okay, just kind of fit that down on there, and then we'll take this guy, pop that up, and then I'm going to create a copy of this one holding Alt and dragging that. And then we'll rotate this 90 degrees, move that into position. And actually I want that to be the other way because I'm looking at this cup here. And I want that to basically surround my other pipe. So that way we don't have to have so much modularity in this. I'm going to go ahead and take my generator and just kind of move it back a little bit. And it looks like that's going to be a little tough. So what we'll do is we'll take all of these, and I'm just going to rotate that 90 degrees. Or 45 degrees, I'm sorry. And we'll kind of make that pipe kind of fit up in there. Okay, so it's touching our gas tank, and it's going up into our generator. Okay, and you can do some things like that, and you can start to run even more pipe through this. You could even connect pipe to one of the ends of the generator to this here. Again, this is just kind of the whole process. I'm just kind of looking at the level, kind of breaking up the silhouette away from the base building itself. So you can come in and start to add things like right out here on the front and things like that. I would even come inside in the interior and add some things like struts and things like that across the top of our ceiling here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to continue this process. And I'm going to go inside of our building and we're going to start to add the static meshes in here. So I'll see you then.